And so that's it, because he's, and I'll let him tell the stories and stuff, but he's been in and out of prison, for the first time he went to prison was what, 36? You said?
I was 39, almost 40.
The first time, but you had done county time. But you had done county time before that.
Yeah, but no more than 90 days.
So yeah, but and so what did your no my this
90
is,
days?
Yeah.
24 hours shocked my system to the core, and I'll never forget it.
Anyways,
it wasn't even 24 hours.
When I started going to prison and they used to tell me that I was going to do 3 or 4 years, I used to get mad. I used to try to get a contempt of court or something, because that wasn't enough time. I was only going to have enough time to take a shower.
Taking longer showers. That's funny.
Well, no, you had been in, and I remember this, and I remember that for years, that you were going.
It was 30 days, 6 months,
right.
90 days, and little petty things. And then when the robberies came along, that's when the big times.
And that, well, you did this last stretch that you did 7 years. 8 years, and then you were out for like a year, and then you went and did another 7, and by that time you were what, 61?
When I paroled the last time, I was 61.
So I mean, there's a lot that's happened, like in between
so
that.
I was in prison from the time I was 39 until I was 61. No, but I came out, like for about 9 months. The longest I had stayed out between the time I was 39 and 61, the longest I had stayed out was 13 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm going on 5 years now.
Good for you, man.
So.
Well, and in that time,
there's nothing for you back there.
No.
But when you do something, when you break the law, you get caught, you're going to pay back society for what you did. That's how the white collar motherfuckers look at it. You fucked up, you're going to pay big time. It's like when I got sentenced the last time, the judge told my attorney, I told him I was going to give him 26 years, and that's what I'm going to do. Without even feeling nothing in his fucking heart. It took me 8 years to come out and beat it on an appeal. These motherfuckers had me doing a burglary in Riverside and a robbery in Chula Vista. And I'd never been in Chula Vista. And the burglaries were too petty. I don't do it.
In his defense, he was a drug runner, man.
Right.
He was a drug runner. He was a thug. He didn't do that petty burglary shit, dude. He was literally, and I say this with all seriousness.
Higher risk, higher reward.
And this was his thing. And I've shared stories about how he what his logic was, and when he taught me stuff or whatever like that, But he said, you know what? If you're gonna do something, make sure it's worth getting caught. Don't go do 2 or 3 years for some fucking petty bullshit. You know what I mean? Make sure the crime is worth the punishment. And that's one thing that kind of stuck in my mind. He'd say, one of the things he would say is, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach him to fish, you feed him for life. But if you kill that motherfucker, you don't have to worry about his stupid ass. And that was one of his little logics, his little, I don't know what you call that, but that was one of his teachings, that I kind of grew up with, And like I said, the first time he got out was I was 19 when you did the 5 years.
Yeah.
Because when I was 15, you went down for the 5 years. No, I was 14. You did the 5 years, and then when you got out, let me backtrack a little bit. At 14, I was having issues with my mom and stuff, right? So she said, you know what? She called my dad, said, you take him. So I go to live with my dad, and like within a week, we're driving in his car. He's in the front seat. His girlfriend at the time is in the passenger seat. I'm in the back seat. We go to somebody's house. He says, wait here in the back. I'm going to run in real quick. So he runs in. He does whatever he's going to do. He comes out. When he comes out, all of a sudden we're swarmed by fucking helicopters, fucking sheriffs. It was just like straight out of the movies, man. It's just crazy. They literally said, make one false move and we will blow your fucking head off. So they pulled him out of the car. They pulled her out of the car. And they said, passenger in the back seat. And he said, that's my son. They said, we'll get him out of the car. So they instructed me how to get out of the car. They said, back away or whatever. So I said, what's going on? They said, go talk to this officer over here. Just stay over there. And anyway, they had my dad. They had him on suspicion of robbery, is what it was. And so they took him into custody. I seen him driving off, and I was like, wow, what's going on? So I ended up going back to my mom's. I didn't see him again for another like 4 years, 3 or 4 years when I was 17. Because within a year, I ended up going to juvenile hall and to group homes and youth authorities and all this shit, The one time that I told you when I was in La Costa, and one of the counselors, I confided in him that, my dad's in prison. He's right here in downtown San Diego at Donovan State Prison. And so he set up the whole thing. He set up a visit. He actually drove me out there, and I got to see my dad for like the first time like in 3 years. I think it had been about 3 years. And then at 17, I got out. I got out of the youth authority. Maybe a year and a half later, you got out. Within a week, he had me in an apartment with my she was my girlfriend at the time. She was pregnant with my daughter, fully furnished. It was so funny. Do you remember that when you said, "What's that?" I said, "It's a VCR." "What's a VCR?" I go, "It's a video cassette recorder." "Well, what's it do?" I said, You can record anything you want. Can you record Elvis?" "Yeah, you can record Elvis. Go get me 2 of them." I mean, literally, that's what he said. And he's like, "Here, how much do they cost?" And back then, the VCRs were like $150.
Yeah.
Now you get one good at the Goodwill for like $6 or $8. You know what I mean? Back then, they were fairly new,
Right.
So he's like, "Go get me 2 of them." I'm like, "Okay." We're selling at the time, we're doing our thing, And it was literally like a business. That's where I got some of my business sense. He would tell me, "Look, this is what you're going to do. This is how you do it. I'm going to set you up with your clients." And he would literally taught me how to run a business, like undergrad, just literally a business. That's what it was, If I would have been running legal product, I could, it's the same thing, You have your inventory, and so that was one of those times where I was like, wow, I was like really proud of what was going on. You know what I mean? It never even entered my head like, what you're doing is illegal, right? It never entered my mind because all I saw was money. Dude.
These are life lessons.
So, yeah, and I'm not going to go into like exactly how much we were making, but we made a substantial amount of money. And one of the things that he taught me is I said, "Dad, we're making enough. How come we don't buy a house? How come we don't do?" He goes, "Why don't you get a job?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, what do I need to get a job for?" He goes, "Oh, how are you gonna explain to the government how you bought a house?" And I'm like, "Oh, all right. Now we'll stay here." Like I said, those were lessons learned, or like you said, those were lessons learned. I was new to life. He was new to life, You stopped drinking at...
I stopped drinking before I went to prison.
Yeah. Because when I was 19, you got out. You had been sober. Up until now.
In '85, I was 39 because I turned 40 in '86. Yeah. So it was.
They still do drinking in prison, though. They make alcohol.
You'll be fucked up for 3 days.
That's my kind of drink.
And if you drink,
but the flavor is horrible, isn't it?
If you drink this much,
a quarter cup
of moonshine, that's the smells. Even if you shower,
they made moonshine inside. How? But that takes like a distillery and.
No, all it takes is a stinger. Uncle Raw got fucked up one time with that, and they took his blood count, and it was 210 when he drank that booze.
Wow.
They said the blood count, the alcohol count on that motherfucker was...
So what is the mixture for Pruno?
It's any kind of fruit. Nutmeg.
Rotten fruit.
It does rot, and it tastes horrible, right?
Yeah, but see, you make it in this bag, and you leave a breather on it. Because you put the
because
bread
it
in
burps.
All the crud and everything falls to the bottom.
Right.
And you open up a little hole right there. You run a little straw right there like that, and you squish it, and you get it in your cups. These motherfuckers sell the pint plastic bottles for $15.
Wow.
The placas don't even. And when you drink that Pruno...
Placas are correctional officers, right?
You have to say yes or no. You can. The audience can't see your head moving.
Now it's gotten a lot harder. I've been seeing it on TV. Now they got the bulldogs.
What are bulldogs?
The bulldogs, they're like Mexican dudes from Fresno. There's still some Sureños there in Fresno, but there's none in Bakersfield. Well, before I went to prison, they used to card me to go into a bar and to buy cigarettes and beer. I still had my youth. After the first 5 years, motherfucker, I came out and they said, "Damn, what happened?" And motherfucker, you go do 5 years in high power, level 3 and level 4.
Well,
Let's see how you look when you get out. It's
You do time.
really stressful, but and you got to do it. You got to do it because they
What would pass the time for you?
exercise. That's all they used to allow me. Sometimes I couldn't even have a TV. Nothing.